Ever wondered why you behave the way you do? It's all about personality types. When it comes to understanding human behavior, one of the most popular theories revolves around the idea of personality types, and at the heart of this concept is the introvert-extrovert spectrum. But what does it mean to be an introvert or an extrovert? Well, let's dive right in. It's important to clarify up front that these aren't rigid categories, but rather they represent a continuum on which any individual might lie. The terms introvert and extrovert were first popularized by psychologist Carl Jung in the early 20th century. According to him, they represent different ways that people orient themselves to the world. An introvert, for instance, tends to be more focused on their inner world. They draw energy from solitude and quiet reflection. On the other hand, an extrovert is energized by social interaction and external stimulation. But remember, this isn't an either-or situation. Some people might find themselves somewhere in the middle, often referred to as ambiverts. Now let's debunk a few common misconceptions. Being an introvert doesn't necessarily mean you're shy or antisocial, and being an extrovert doesn't automatically make you a party animal. Shyness is about fear of social judgment, while introversion is more about how you respond to stimulation. Similarly, extroversion isn't just about being outgoing, it's about seeking out dynamic and stimulating environments. It's also worth noting that these tendencies aren't static. They can shift and evolve over time, influenced by a myriad of factors such as life experiences, age, and even culture. So the next time you're tempted to label someone as simply an introvert or extrovert, remember that personality is a complex and multifaceted thing. It's not just about how we act, but why we act the way we do. And most importantly, there's no better end of the spectrum. Both introverts and extroverts bring unique strengths and perspectives to the table. So you see, being an introvert or extrovert isn't about being shy or outgoing, it's about where you draw your energy from. Now that we've covered the introvert-extrovert spectrum, let's move on to how we perceive the world. Are you a sensing or an intuitive type? Understanding whether you lean towards sensing or intuition in the MBTI framework can help you comprehend how you gather and interpret information from your surroundings. It's all about how you perceive the world. Let's start with sensing. If you're a sensing type, you're likely to pay attention to physical reality, the details, and the facts. You're the person who, when tasting a dish, can identify every ingredient used. You're grounded in the present moment and you value practical applications and direct experiences. Imagine you're in a garden. A sensing type will notice the types of flowers, the color of the leaves, the smell of the grass, and the texture of the bark on the trees. They are, in essence, fact collectors, relying heavily on their five senses. On the flip side, if you tend towards intuition, you're more focused on the big picture rather than the details. You're the person who, when tasting that same dish, thinks about the culture it originated from, or the memories it evokes. You're interested in future possibilities and enjoy abstract theories and concepts. Back in that garden, an intuitive type won't focus on the details of the flowers or the trees. Instead, they might ponder about the ecosystem, the cycle of life and death, or the symbolic meaning of the garden. Remember, neither sensing nor intuition is better than the other. They're simply different ways of perceiving the world. Some of us are more detail-oriented and practical, while others are more big-picture thinkers and imaginative. It's also important to note that we all use both sensing and intuition, but usually one is more dominant in our personality. Whether you're a sensing or an intuitive type, it's all about how you take in information. So, how do you perceive the world? Are you drawn to the facts and details, or do you gravitate towards the big picture and the underlying meanings? Decision-making can be a tricky business, but did you know your personality type can influence how you make decisions? Are you a thinking or a feeling type? Let's dive into the third dimension of the Myers-Briggs type indicator, or the MBTI. This dimension, known as thinking-feeling, helps us understand how we make decisions. It's not about what we think or feel, but rather how we evaluate information and come to conclusions. Those who lean towards the thinking side tend to make decisions based on facts and logic. They value truth, consistency, and justice, and they're often seen as objective and rational. Imagine you're deciding where to go for dinner. If you're a thinking type, you might consider factors like the restaurant's reviews, the price range, and the nutritional value of the food. On the other hand, those who favor the feeling side tend to make decisions based on personal values and how these decisions will affect others. They value harmony, empathy, and social impact. Going back to our dinner scenario, if you're a feeling type, you might consider factors like the mood you want to set, the preferences of your dining companions, or the ethical sourcing of the food. It's crucial to remember that this doesn't mean thinkers are devoid of feelings or that feelers can't be logical. It's all about your preference and what comes more naturally to you when making decisions. Also, it's worth noting that society doesn't value one over the other. Both ways of decision-making are equally important and useful in different contexts. A thinking approach might be more useful in scientific research, while a feeling approach might shine in conflict resolution or social work. Remember, MBTI is not about boxing you into a category, but about understanding your natural inclinations and how they affect your interactions with the world around you. So, whether you lean towards thinking or feeling, remember there's no right or wrong way to make decisions. Each of us has a unique perspective and a unique way of making decisions, and that's what makes us, well, uniquely us. Finally, let's talk about how you prefer to structure your world. Are you a judging or a perceiving type? This, dear friends, is the fourth and final dimension of the Myers-Briggs type indicator, a fascinating tool that helps us understand our unique personalities. Imagine you're given a project. If you're a judging type, you'll likely start planning right away. You prefer to have a clear plan and structure in place. You're comfortable with deadlines and schedules, and you feel at ease when things are decided and orderly. Judging types are not necessarily judgmental, rather they like to be prepared and have control over their environment. On the other hand, if you're a perceiving type, you may take a more spontaneous approach. You're adaptable and flexible, preferring to keep your options open. You're not a big fan of strict schedules or final decisions. Instead, you thrive in the realm of possibilities, where you can go with the flow and respond to things as they come. These preferences don't mean that judging types can't be spontaneous or that perceiving types can't plan. It's more about what feels natural and comfortable to you. Remember, there's no right or wrong, better or worse here. It's about understanding your preferences and using that knowledge to navigate the world around you more effectively. So whether you're a judging or a perceiving type, it's all about how you prefer to organize and deal with life. Now that we've covered the basics of MBTI, you might be wondering, what's my personality type? Well, that's the beauty of it all. By understanding these preferences and how they interact, you can begin to unravel the mystery of you. It's not about boxing yourself into a category, but rather opening doors to self-understanding. Imagine the possibilities when you truly comprehend your strengths, weaknesses, and how you interact with the world. So go ahead, take an MBTI test and start your journey to self-discovery today. I'll provide you with a link in the description. Before we wrap up, please be mindful and subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss our next video. If you found this video helpful, give us a thumbs up. Got any questions or thoughts about MBTI? Drop a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.